This video is brought to you by PrizePicks. All right, here to discuss some of these picks with me. I have Mac Robinson for 92.3 The Fan. He's also working the soundboard during the Browns broadcast. We're going to go through this with both the picks here. We're going to try to spend some time talking about both these picks here. Let's start with Parker Brailsford. Let's kind of just focus the conversation in on him. We knew the Browns were going to have to get a center at some point. Sam Heck was gone by the time they went up there. I still probably would have preferred Brian Parker, but he's a bit of a project at center, so maybe they just wanted somebody more experienced there. What's your thoughts on that pick, Mac?
Yeah, I kind of was with you on that. I liked Brian Parker coming into the day, but also understanding that, having him switch back from tackle back in center where he played in high school, there's going to be some work to be done there. At least with Brailsford, you have the experience. I know he's a little bit undersized, but that's something that I'm sure they wouldn't be making the pick if at least Warhop did not think that he could get something out of that. But also the fact that, again, I know it's not the Nick Saban era anymore, but, having somebody like Brailsford come in and be able to be a team after following Kalen DeBoer over to Alabama, I do think that that's interesting in particular. And the one thing, I know we talked about it the last couple of nights on stream as well, but the fact that, Monken's press conferences throughout this offseason in particular, he's really been saying over and over again that he really views Elton Jenkins as more of a guard. So I do think that this could be a potential opportunity for somebody like Brailsford. Despite being a fifth rounder, I think that there's a path for him to potentially start, and that being an opening for him to potentially get that playing time early. But at the same time, though, I do think that it's really interesting that, you saw Connor Lew go off at the end of the fourth round. You see Sam Heck go off 2 picks before. So I think the Browns, looking at that, were very much seeing that and targeting somebody like Brailsford who could come in and potentially see some playing time.
Hey, let me talk to you about my sponsor for this year, PrizePicks. It's a fun way to win cash while you're watching your favorite teams. Forget complex betting rules. Their app is designed to be incredibly easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Speaking of, here are my picks for this upcoming NFL season. They have Myles Garrett at 14 sacks here. I think he will get more than 14 sacks. Joe Burrow at 3,875 passing yards. I think he'll be a 4,000-yard passer. I'm going to go with more. They have Derrick Henry at 1,224 yards. I'm going to go less than that. Check to see if PrizePicks is available in your state. You can follow me on the app at KWEN_C to see all of my lineups. Download the PrizePicks app today. Play $5 and get $50 in lineups when you download the app using the link in the description. Yeah, I think that's kind of the key there. They wanted somebody with some experience there versus like Brian Parker, who would be a bit of a project. I think, too, the interesting thing with Parker is that he's like undersized there at the center position, and he's going to
that definitely stood out for me.
Yeah, he's going to come in there and compete with Luke Whippler. It seems like they're fine with that being the competition. To be fair, right? Like we can fixate on like wanting to have 5 great players on the offensive line, but even the best offensive lines, it's usually 3 carrying 2 or 4 carrying 1 if you're super lucky, right? So,
yeah,
on a good offensive line, shout out to my guy, Vach Lombardi. He always makes this point. You can put somebody out there and make them exist. If you have enough help, you could put somebody at any position. It could be left tackle, right tackle. If you have 4 good guys around them, you can get out there and make them exist. And I think that's kind of the plan with center. They throw some competition in there with Parker Brailsford, who's super experienced. He's like a 5th-year guy, right? Like he's played a lot of football throughout his career. And I know people are going to go, oh no, Alabama offensive lineman, which we understand the stigma, but I don't believe that stigma has gone with centers. Like Landon Dickerson, didn't he play for Alabama?
Yeah, he played for Alabama over there. Him and Ryan Kelly are probably the 2 most successful Alabama offensive linemen.
Yeah, like they're I mean, like one of those guys are the best in their position. So
yes.
Yeah. I also think, because we're going to talk about this with the Parker Brailsford pick, because if they were going to take a quarterback, I think that would have been where they would have done it. I think the fact that they haven't and they just traded back from 152 to way later in the draft, I don't think they're going quarterback. And if they do, it's probably like Jalen Daniels or somebody like who's exclusively developmental. I do wonder if they kind of liked Cade Klubnik in one of those spots, and they maybe were thinking about taking Cade there, but then he went early in the fourth, so they had to abandon that. But Parker there at center. How do we have any information on when it is that Whippler's going to be back from that injury?
I believe, and I can double check too, but I believe that he should be. They said that he should be on track for around training camp, I want to say, but I'll double check just to be sure.
What was his injury? What did he leave? What did he get carted off for? Right? Was it the bone break or was it a muscle tear?
I want to say it was a bone break, but I'm just double checking on that.
All right. Well, either way, that's going to be the competition there. Do they have anybody else on the roster they could throw at center right now, other than those two?
I mean, I don't know if KT Levison can snap, but I mean, otherwise,
we went over this yesterday. KT Levison is the last person you need to put at center because he already has issues with that part of his game, right? He's hit something guy. You don't put hit something guy at center here, but. Either way,
it was a knee injury, by the way, for Whippler.
It was a knee injury.
Yeah,
I always worry about those with 300-pounders. Well, is he a 300-pounder? Is he undersized too?
He's maybe like a hair over 300, but he's right there.
You always worry about that with 300-pounders. But
it is interesting though, because again, the whole and I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday as well, but. Largely the stigma surrounding George Warhop is that he loves the massive offensive linemen, and they end up going with the guy that's undersized, at least for center.
Yeah, and I don't think the Florida guy was that big either. I think he was just like kind of regular size.
He's like 315. Yeah, same thing for Fano.
Yeah, but wow, yeah, true. You think we get Spencer Fano's brother here late?
You know what? I mean, I don't know if we're getting the bloodline going, but. I mean, I think that for him, potentially, like maybe a UDFA, I could see him being one of those guys, or maybe he's the guy that they take in the 7th. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure if he'll be a priority earlier on. But I do think that they're going to look to kind of, especially having new special teams coach in and maybe different priorities in terms of what they're looking for out of those guys. Maybe you see the back end of the roster with special teamers that also kind of gets flipped, because I think that also is a little overdue for being redone as well.
But looking at this team now, so far what they've done in the draft, it feels like they have completed what they've wanted to do on the offensive line. I can't complain because going into this draft, I was saying I want 3 offensive linemen. I got 3 offensive linemen, right? Which ones they get, that always can vary, but I got 3 offensive linemen in this class, and they got the double dip at wide receiver, right? So I'm pretty happy with the fact that they've addressed that. If you look at this offensive line now, we're looking at a team that has, 3 new starters. Elton Jenkins, who's going to start at right guard. We have Zion Johnson, who's going to start at left guard, and we have Titus Howard, who's going to play right tackle. They have a competition here at center. Whoever wants to fight for that competition is in it. They just drafted another player for it, Parker Brailsford, who we're talking about right now. And then at left tackle, they spent the 9th pick of the draft at that, right? Like there's no denying that the Browns spent resources on those positions. We aren't going to hear much complaining about the fact that they did not care about offensive line. They clearly did. We're bringing in, 6 new offensive linemen? I think Daniel Afuise put the tweet out where he put the Deion Sanders tweet where he's talking to Colorado before he goes there, and he's like, by the way, I'm bringing luggage and it's Gucci, right? Like, I mean, like he told people that this was going to be the case, to be fair, right at the end of the season. And again, I think I mentioned this in the video earlier. He is a man of his word. He said he expects incredible turnover on the offensive line. Yeah. I mean, like, who's about to be left on this offensive line? Maybe DeJuan Jones. Maybe Luke Whipler. Maybe Tevin Jenkins. And Tevin's kind of new, right? Like, Tevin came here last year. But, like, what, Zack Zenter? Hey, man. It's going to be
well, dude, you know how I've been when it comes to Zack Zenter. Like, he was getting cooked by third-string defensive linemen again on the Eagles last year in the preseason. That dude was not good last year. I'm still astonished that he was on the roster.
I am going to give Zack Zenter some grace here because I feel like what's not appreciated with Zach is what exactly went down, right? I think he was the odd man out. What was the offensive line coach they brought? Andy Dickerson, right?
Yes.
He was probably somebody Andy Dickerson wanted for what Andy Dickerson wanted to do. And in the preseason that year, that first year he was in the preseason, he was good, right? He was actually doing well.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until last year that he looked terrible. But what happened last year? They switched out offensive line coaches and they changed their philosophy on the offensive line and went to a heavy gap scheme, right? So a completely different acts of him. And I think he just ended up being the odd man out. Like, it kind of reminds me of what happened to Tommy Togiai when, like, Jim Schwartz got here.
Yeah,
like,
that's a fair point.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, he's just kind of the odd man out. So, like, I wouldn't count him out because he did show some promise his rookie year. I don't know if that changes this year because if the gap scheme stuff was bothering Zack Zenter last year, it's not like Todd Monken runs gap less, right? Like he runs it more. And, you know, you just look at what they've gone for. These more athletic offensive linemen is what they've been going for all year. And then Zack Zenter's a big power guy, right? He needs to go somewhere where he could just get a hand and turn. That's not what they ask their guards to do in this system. So I think he got a raw deal. You know what I mean? So I agree that he might be the odd man out, but I don't want to shit on him too much because I think there's a chance that he pops up somewhere else and he's actually decent. Because I think the problem with him right now is this: the fit is not what he was drafted for. Like, you know, I worry about that with this group, right? You know, hopefully the Browns win enough games, but, you know, if they have to make a move at coach, God forbid, then we could be looking at
Detroit getting Keith Abney. Okay. Sorry.
We could be
seeing
looking
the picks go off too.
Yeah, we could be looking at, you know, some of these moves here. We're like, oh, well, what we're going to do with Parker Brailsford? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think Zenter's a bit of a victim of fit. But if we're looking at odd men out in that room, KT Leviston, he's an odd man out. I know AB likes him, but he's probably not going to make the team here. Let me pull up the offensive line roster here real quick on the website. But what, KT Leviston off the top of my head, probably an odd man out. Let's see, guard, Tevin Jenkins, Zion Johnson, Zack Zenter, odd man out. We both agree on those two, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, Jack Conley's not even like really a factor here. Tyree Phillips out. Yeah, there's basically maybe DeJuan. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I wonder how they feel about DeJuan because you always sense that there's some level of irritation with them about DeJuan Jones because they're always talking about like his weight and what he's doing and what he needs to do. Like, it's weird that he's lost weight like multiple off seasons. Like, we've had the conversation of, oh man, DeJuan looks great this year. But it's like because the year prior he got big when he lost that weight coming in. So and he's coming off another injury here too. Now we've seen pictures of him. He looks good, and they say he looks good in practice. And having another extra tackle is not the worst thing in the world. I just wonder, like, how do you structure this to keep everybody, but also make your bench functional?
Well, and the one thing too that I was even going to say is that I think that DeJuan, because this year's the last year of his rookie contract, I think that Dewan gives you a little bit of versatility and a little bit of an opportunity to have patience with Austin Barber, where you can go ahead and allow him to give him time to develop, give him time to actually, get his feet underneath and work with Warhop for a little bit, and not necessarily feel the pressure if you have an injury to Titus Howard or along the offensive line. If Elton Jenkins gets hurt again, you have to kick in Titus Howard. Like, you don't have to worry about an injury along the line potentially forcing one of these younger guys into action when they're not ready for that. So I think that maybe you just let this last year play out when it comes to DeJuan Jones, and then again you don't re-sign him. And that, I think, opens up the door for them to, again, have some patience and not have to call Cam Robinson in the middle of the season in order to try to fix some of those problems, because we saw how well that worked out.
Now, I will say this, though. There might be hope for KT Levingston that we're not talking about, because I'm looking at the offensive line room and I'm thinking to myself, the one thing the Browns really need is like some kind of guy who can fill a fullback role. I know they tried Aiden there last year. I don't think that went well, right? I think we were just happy that like he was playing defensive tackle and fullback, but if you actually look at it, it didn't really go well for him, and I don't think he should be wasting time on the offensive side of the ball anymore. Maybe KT should lose 10 pounds and try to be the best eligible tackle on the team, right? So eligible tackle / fullback. And I think if he could do that, Todd's going to use him, right? Like I think that's if you could get this message out to KT's people, because I know you got to be nervous, right? If you KT Levingston, lose a couple pounds and try to be the best eligible tackle you could be, right? Say, hey, look, I can line up in the backfield and lead block, because the one thing KT can do is run block and move in space. And maybe he needs to leverage those skill sets to say, hey, look, I could be maybe not one-to-one what Pat Ricard was, but something, comparable or comparable to what you got with Pat, so that he could stay on the team, because they do need somebody to fill that role. I don't know if they're going to be able to get that guy in the draft. I think AB talked about wanting to get a blocking tight end in the 5th, but obviously, I think he was talking about Sam Roush. I think that's pretty obvious there. Sam Roush wasn't there. So, like,
I think Sam Roush or Oscar Delp in there, too, because both of them went off a few picks before
I don't think he thought Oscar Delp was going to be there at the 5th round. Like, remember, he was talking about the 5th round.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, so Oscar Delp isn't one of the best blocking tight ends in this draft, but Sam Roush, like, legitimately is. I think he thought Sam Roush should be there in the 5th. He wasn't, right? So now that that plan got blown up, you got to adjust to something else. I think that's something that KT can do. But Parker Brailsford, center from Alabama, going to be a Cleveland Brown now.